Minister, are you confident that this deal will stop the boats?
I'm confident it'll have a big impact on people's decision to risk their lives, jump on a boat, pay the money to the people smugglers, just to face the prospect of being returned to Malaysia. So I think it will have a very big impact. I think it will pull the rug from out of the people smugglers' advertising model.
What's the bigger incentive to stopping the boats? The extra 4,000 places or the risk of being sent back?
I think it's a package. I think it's saying to people, Australia will resettle more genuine refugees who've been waiting for resettlement. At the same time, you have nothing to achieve by getting on a boat because you face the very real prospect of being returned to Malaysia.
But in fact, you do have something to achieve. I mean, if you've been here for 10 or 20 years with no work rights, you get on a boat, go to Christmas Island, come back, and then you can work.
Well, people who get on boats to come to Australia get on boats to come and live in Australia. They don't do it for any other reason. And by taking that away, you really do smash the people smugglers' business model. The Malaysian government's made quite clear that they are improving the situation for asylum seekers across the board, but we have codified and guaranteed protections built into this arrangement. That's as appropriate. People, including the Liberal Party, have said that this wouldn't be possible. You wouldn't be able to get these sort of protections in. Now we have. If people want to criticise us for doing that, well, I'll cop that because it's an appropriate thing to do.
Well, it is complex though, because now you've got 800 people who will have rights and 90,000 who don't. That creates a two-tiered system.
Well, the Malaysian government have indicated that they are perfectly comfortable with the way that they'll manage that going forward. Do
you really have faith in that? I mean, it's a country notorious for human rights abuses of refugees.
Well, no, the Malaysian government has appropriately agreed with us, based on feedback from the UNHCR and others, that these protections are the right thing to do. I don't apologise for them. I'm very glad we've been able to build them into the agreement. There are plenty of people who said it wouldn't be possible. I'm glad we've been able to do it.
Okay, so explain how it's going to work exactly. In terms of those people who are sent back, what will be the process?
Well, people who are transferred from Australia to Malaysia will be brought to Malaysia. They'll go into a transit centre for up to 45 days. That's where they'll receive their first basic checks. And then with the assistance of the International Organisation for Migration, they'll move into the community. They will have the right to self-reliance, including work rights. They'll have the right for children to attend schools, and they'll have the right to basic health care. And they'll receive Australia and Malaysia identification to establish their legal right to be in Malaysia, as is very clear in the arrangement.
Can you flesh that out a bit more? I mean, who's going to protect those rights? We know that many people who are already here, who are registered with the UNHCR, still face extortion from the immigration police, for example. Who's going to be running around after these 800, making sure that that doesn't happen to them?
Well, a couple of points. Firstly, as you heard Minister Hishamudin himself say, judges by results. He's given directions to his authorities that this is the appropriate arrangement and this is to be implemented. In addition, we'll have an implementation task force consisting of representatives of Australia, Malaysia, the UNHCR and the IOM, and we'll have an advisory group which is open for nominations from non-government organisations that want to be involved to make sure this arrangement works. I'm confident this arrangement can work because the goodwill that Malaysia has shown in these negotiations will also be reflected in their implementation.
Can you flesh it out even further? I mean, in terms of education, it says in your document that children of school age will have access to private education. What does that mean exactly? Does that mean they won't be in state schools? They'll be in some sort of different system?
Well, there's an existing system for education for asylum seekers.
Well, yes, but it's very marginal. I think we know that it's staffed largely by volunteers.
Yeah, and they will have access to the system, and that access will be to the degree necessary and appropriate, funded by Australia under this arrangement. It will be developed by the UNHCR and the IOM. So this is the point. On some areas, critics may say that the asylum seekers transferred from Malaysia to Australia are getting too good a deal. On the other side, that people may say the arrangements aren't strong enough. We've struck a good balance which ensures appropriate protections and ensures that those protections are in line with the basic protections that should be provided to people seeking asylum.
So just to be clear, it's not proper schools, it's the existing asylum seeker schools?
It is the existing network of schools which is administered by the UNHCR and the IOM.
What about the 4,000 people who are going to be transferred to Australia? How do you choose them?
Well, they'll be chosen in the same way as we choose all the other refugees who come to Australia out of our allocation. That is the United Nations High Commission for Refugees making referrals to Australia for compelling cases, us going through our appropriate checks and then accepting those referrals. So that will be exactly the same system as it applies everywhere else across the world.
Are you aware how much hope you've created for people here? They suddenly think, I can go to Australia, everyone wants to come. Many people are going to be disappointed.
Well, hope is a good thing, and the fact that we're able to resettle 4,000 more people, and I think that Just shows the complex nature of this arrangement, that we are able to give 4,000 people the chance to a better life in Australia. Yes, there'll be lots of people seeking that, and no, we can't cater for everybody, but it's 4,000 more people than we were able to cater for yesterday. That's something I'm proud of.
Do you think there'll be more after this?
Well, look, I think we've made clear with Malaysia that we'll assess the operation of this. If it works, then we're interested in extending it. The Malaysian minister's made that view clear as well. We see this as a pilot. But let's implement this arrangement before we talk about what the next steps are.
Did you make a mistake suggesting that the people who arrived on Christmas Island would be sent back to Malaysia before you had the deal signed and sealed?
Well, I said that they'd be transferred to a third country, and I made it clear on a number of occasions ad nauseum that wouldn't necessarily be in Malaysia, because it was well known that the agreement may well be prospective.
It won't be a third country. It'll be Australia.
Well,
third country, Australia.
Of course, I made clear at the time that Australia was in negotiations not only with Malaysia but Papua New Guinea. Those discussions with Papua New Guinea have taken longer than we originally thought that they might because of the political instability in Papua New Guinea. I don't step away from the fact that we have had to adjust that position, but really at the end of the day it was the only sensible and rational thing to do.
Minister, thank you.
Thank you.